Welcome, welcome. It's so great to have you here, whether you're picking this up now live or you're coming in at some point in the future. We're looking at creative energy levels. And we're looking at creative energy levels because there's such an opportunity right now to find our center, to get balanced, and as creative individuals, to see what our options are in terms of how we're expressing ourselves in the world. So much of it has to do with levels that we can travel, like a ladder or like the chakra system. We can move from the base of the spine up and up, up and up, finding new and exciting ways to connect with focus and our own creative vision. So today we're looking at creative energy level number 1. I want to begin with a poem by an artist poet named Mary Frank. She says that what art is for is to comfort the dead and awaken the living, to know migrations of seasons and birds and fish, to feel the power of color and shape, and to fill an unspoken hunger for community. I love that because I feel that if we go through it line by line, each and every one of us can extrapolate an aspect of the poem that fits for us. For example, if I just take to know migrations, well, in the Buddhist teachings that I have dedicated myself to for several decades, we're all referred to as migrators. We're migrating from the shore of birth, which is a very rare thing to be born as a human. Even though there's 7 billion of us on the planet right now, it's a miracle that you're here, that I'm here, that we're here. And we're migrating from the shore of birth across what is referred to as the Sea of Samsara, which is just the experiences that we have as we are living our life, and the ups and the downs, the roiling surface of the sea, the depths that bring us into calm and to connection with community. If we think about what's going on deep, deep, deep down in the ocean. And we're traveling, each of us is migrating over to the shore of death. And as we get closer and closer to the shore of death, receding from the shore of birth, our interests and our activities shift as we migrate. So I like that sentence or that phrase in the poem, and you might find another that works for you. When we're working with level 1, we're actually working with the idea of being migrators, of being pioneers, of being trail makers, even more so than trailblazers. You know, we're cutting through in level 1 of the creative energy levels. We're cutting through the dross and the static on the line that keeps us from connecting with our true nature, with our heart's desire, and with the direction that our creative energy is calling us to go, you know, that North Star aspect that we referred to in the 0 point when we looked at the beginning, the 0 point being the all-encompassing, all that is our own individual idea of faith and trust in life. And the circle symbol represents that. The 0 point represents that. And as we're climbing now, we might visualize, I'll be doing a little demo in a moment, but we might visualize that in the Eastern Hindu philosophy, we might visualize that there is a snake coiled at the base of our spine, and that as we could say migrate upward in our travels, as we grow and develop and evolve, we move up through our energy fields, and like the snake coiled at the base of our spine, it begins to wake up and climb, like kind of climbing up through our spine, giving us the visual image of the caduceus that the medical community uses with the double snakes going up the staff. So there's really really cool visuals for the first level of energy. These are short videos. We can always go deeper if there's interest. And so as I skim the surface of the first level of energy, we want to bring to mind the base of the spine. We want to allow ourselves to visualize the start of things, anything that we are feeling called to express. It starts with an idea, it starts with an inspiration, it starts with a vision, and all of those qualities connect with the first level of the creative energies that we're looking at right now. When this energy is out of alignment, there's a sense of insecurity. We feel a lack of safety. We may even go into paranoia and think that everything is against us. So as mentioned in the introduction, each of these levels of energies is like a battery, has a positive end and a negative end. Those are not judgment words. Those are how batteries work. You got to have the positive and you got to have the negative charge. And when we think about the positive and the negative charge of level 1, again, I'll have some keywords for us, but we want to imagine that we're not deciding that one is better than the other. We're becoming aware of what the first creative level of energy offers us. And we want to be aware also that when the demons are dancing around our bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, it isn't necessarily to stop us, it's to allow us to turn our attention toward what is scaring us so that we can stop scaring ourselves. First level, it's rich, it's deep, and it requires a bit of thinking about what true safety and true security are in our own lives. So these are areas that you might choose to research on your own. Again, I'm not here to tell anybody what to think or what to do or what to believe. We're looking at creative energy levels that correlate with many different systems of development. And I'm using the chakra system as one of our anchors because many of us can Google it and learn about it on our own. And I recall when I was first introduced to the chakras, I was early 20s, and I was hanging out with some people who were keeping me safe. At that time, I had experienced entrapment and violence, and I had nowhere to go. I had nothing to cling to. And so some older people in their 30s gave me a place to stay. And they had language that I didn't really understand. A lot of times they'd be talking about things that I didn't really get as a kid in my early 20s. And when I inquired about what they were talking about, karma and chakras and you reap what you sow, those kinds of things were not part of my understanding. And they told me I was too young, that this was something that would come to meet me later on. And indeed, my curiosity remained very open. And I did, as mentioned, and I will continue to mention, that I began to really get immersed in how our creative energy comes to meet us and how our creative energy comes to meet us historically, all the way back to the cave painters. How do we express ourselves so that we are in alignment with our own true nature? The first level of energy starts it all. So I'm going to shift into a demo mode so I can do a quick little cryptic drawing and give you an opportunity to do likewise in your journal or workbook and begin to consider what we're up to in these first 4 levels of creative energy. This is the first. 0 is the all-encompassing energy. It's like home base. We always want to return to the 0. We want to know what it's like to cancel out any static on our line and return to our home of the 0 point, however that manifests for each of us. And we learn this as we grow and go. So it doesn't necessarily happen right now because we're talking about it. But what we want to do is get some visual imagery going here. So I'm going to turn to the demo camera, and I'm going to do a very quick drawing for us. So what we can do is get our journals out if we want to, and we can have a blank sheet of paper. And for the level 1, we can just do a quick stick figure. I do this with my life cycle collaborators who are working on a monthly basis. We will create a stick figure map, and we can put the earth behind it so that there's some ground. We want to consider that the first level of energy is where we get grounded. So as mentioned, it could be thought of as a coiled energy, like a coiled cobra at the base of the spine. And for our first introduction to this level of creative energy, we don't want to just leave that energy disk, we'll call it, creative energy disk. We don't want to just leave it floating there by itself. We want to send some roots down and get stabilized. So we think like if we just think of our 2 feet, and first level is about learning to stand on our own 2 feet. So that's a good basic awareness of what this creative level does. If we feel safe, we're standing on our own 2 feet. We handle things as they come to meet us. But this is not a very stable base. And so what we want to do is we want to really get this energy actively engaging by visualizing the energy moving down our legs. And then we also want to visualize so many different ways to think of each of these creative fields. But this could also be thought of as a seed. And we might find a root going all the way down, all the way down, all the way down to the base of the page, so that we feel like we're connected to the earth mother, to the divine feminine, to the goddess energy. All the resources come out of the earth mother. Let's accentuate that connection to the earth. So we're standing on the earth and we're rooted into the earth. And it's a reciprocal energy. As soon as we root ourselves, the earth responds by giving us a connection, like an electrical plug. All of these creative energies are like plugging us in. The first one plugs us into the earth mother, the divine feminine, the goddess energy. And when we do that, she responds by sending us the ideas and the inspirations to bring resource into our life. All of it comes out of this point right here. This energy field connects with the adrenal glands. And it also we recognize then that when we are in fight or flight, when we're frightened, when our life scares us, it's all about this first level of energy. I showed you my chart that is real basic. It's been expanded upon exponentially over the years, but I did this chart quite a while ago. And it offers us some really, again, good basics for this first level of energy. We can affirm everything I need I had the moment before I was born. We remind ourselves that's a line from a David Whyte poem, and we really want to acknowledge his work. And we look at the positive and the negative poles. Again, this is a battery of creative energy. It feeds us. And so when we look at this, it's the first chakra. Here we have it, the first chakra. And it offers us, when we're on the positive pole of the battery, we think new thoughts. We don't stay in a rut. We place ourselves into a self-appointed level of leadership. I'm grounded. I'm connected to the divine feminine. I know I'm not alone. We create from this point because resource ideas and inspirations come from the below. And as we work up and up and up and up and off the page into the higher realms, we'll recognize that these energies are creating for us a container. All of this is going to come into play as we go further. But we're all a portable unit. We could say, this is me, my stick figure map. And session by session, as we go up the ladder, climb the chakras, climb the spine, watch the snake wake up, whatever analogy you want to use is yours. And you might have others that work for you. But when we're in a positive mode with this energy, we're connecting to new ways of thinking about things. How exciting that is in this particular empowerment year, which we're also climbing our way up to learning about. We're creating something new. We're having a vision. Vision is such an extraordinary word to put toward the base of our spine, because we can't literally see. We're not using our literal eyes. We're using our third eye for all of this. We're visualizing and imagining. And so this is a really empowered place in our creative energy levels to take ourselves into our center. This is the center, and find our vision. What's my vision for today? My vision for my life is my calling. How am I allowing myself today, in the present, in the now, to connect to that calling? I could say, as my example, that I was called to do this creative energy work when I had my gallery, as mentioned, because artists would come in and sit down with me and they would ask questions like, how do you do this? How did you make this gallery happen? How did you create this beautiful work? How do you find the artists that you're going to show every 6 weeks when a gallery exhibition changes? How do you bankroll something like this? And on and on. And I felt curious enough, like, how am I doing this? And how does this function, to begin to really study the topic of creative energy. So we gain confidence the more we feel stable. This is like a tripod that's connecting us to the earth. We could even say that our feet are sending roots down into the earth. We become tree-like. From the first level of energy, we are deeply rooted into resource from the Earth Mother. We're pioneers. The negative levels of the energy field, they let us know where resistance is coming from. And isn't that an extraordinary gift that we give to ourselves? We've worked oftentimes with the 12 signs that you're in resistance. I can post these if you'd like to see them. Just leave a note in the comments, and I will definitely bring those into our awareness. So we all have them. There's 12 signs that you're in resistance. And some of those keywords would be laziness and feeling unstable. Again, not anchored, not rooted, not connected to something deeper than ourselves, something wider than ourselves, the Earth Mother, who brings us all our resource. We might become timid. Oh, I can't do it. Oh, I'm not ready. Oh, I don't know what to say. Oh, they won't like it. They won't like me. That's not true. So that's part of the negative charge of the first creative level of energy. To be impulsive and not be grounded, but to just think we're going to go off the charts and be a rocket ship and everybody's going to love us and what we are creating is not stable either. To be impulsive or aggressive or discouraged are all keywords that let us be reminded of the positive and the negative poles. If I kind of turn this chart on its horizontal axis, the positive end of the battery and the negative end of the battery are both necessary, and we want them. We don't want to deny our laziness, our instability, our impulsiveness, our aggressiveness, our discouragement, or any of those qualities that might not be so attractive. We don't want to deny them. We want to look at them, own them, and keep moving forward toward new thinking patterns, leadership, self-appointed. I can do this. I can lead myself through this day, so to speak. So it's all going to be unfolding as we climb. And I do always want to substantiate the work that I'm providing for you. I'm not making it up. It didn't come out of the ethers, though much of it, of course, is intuitively synapsing through my brain, if that's a way to think about something. But I want to share with you a couple of my research volumes that I have been referring to. This first one I want to show you. I usually put the dates inside of a book when I first begin to work with it. And the date on this book is 1993. So I began to work with Jacqueline Small's Awakening in Time information. She's a yogini and a psychotherapist. And in her book, Awakening in Time, she's working with the first 7 levels of energy that are within the physical body. Not to jump ahead, but to, again, give you the acknowledgement that I'm very cognizant of bringing you information that is substantiated over time in so many different ways. And naturally, you can do your own research to check me out. The other book I want to share with you as my research volume, again, 1993, big year for me. I had just moved in to the former high security lockup ward for women, where 35 women at a time were kept in, they were sequestered. It was a state mental hospital, and they could not leave. They had no freedom. And when my studio moved into that space, it was extraordinarily compelling to me because of my own history. I could have ended up in a high security lockup ward for women if there had been anybody who had found me and quote unquote cared for me. They might have thought that was the best place for me after violence came into my life. But there was nobody there except for those adults that gave me a safe place to stay. And they were a pretty rough bunch, but I'm not going to judge. They gave me a place to begin to recover. And this is like maybe 10, 12 years later, I'm in the high security lockup ward. It even had a padded cell and a dispensary with the posters of the really god-awful drugs that women were given to keep them sort of catatonic in the high security lockup ward. The Angels Within Us by John Randolph Price is one of my go-tos because, again, he is investigating these levels, creative levels of energy. And there are more than the 9 that we're going to be working with. And he goes through the 22 primary levels of energy that relate to the tarot, which is a mystical school of working with the hero's journey. And the hero's journey is always within, and it always begins with what scares us so that we can face our fear, plant a seed vision, trust that we are going to be rooted as we connect with our vision, stabilizes us. It gives us a reason for living, gives us a reason for being. And a vision is not necessarily something that just happens because we want it. We may have to spend quite a bit of time sitting very, very still and moving through up the ladder as the snake uncoils and moves up to the top of the head. I'm going to shift the camera once again to do our close for today. And here we are. So what we're doing here is we are on a journey. This is our first level of creative energy, and it connects us to something deeper than ourselves. As David White said, everything we need, we had the moment before we were born. And so when we do this creative exercise of drawing our own awareness of our red disc, it's red in color, root chakra, and give ourselves roots, we're beginning our journey as a connected think tripod with those 3 roots going down the legs and from the base of the spine. Very creative way to think about being a pioneer. We're pioneering a journey up and through our own creative energy fields. It's so dynamically nourishing. It does us no harm whatsoever. And any insecurities that we feel, any fear that we feel, any doubt, any indecision around our vision and our calling is just the negative charge of that first level of the positive negative poles of the creative energy. There's so many different ways to investigate each of these creative fields. And again, I'm attempting to keep us within boundaries, and I don't know how far we've gone today. I will certainly rein it in if I'm going to overtime too much. But as of today, I want to say thank you so much for being here. Thank you for subscribing to the YouTube channel and for leaving a comment and for supporting me in bringing to you the deepest dream of my life. And that is that we can release suffering and we can release the causes of suffering by becoming aligned with our own creative energy. And we are on a journey to do some sleuthing to discover what that means for each of us so that we can be about the business of rowing our boats gently, gently, gently from the sea of samsara's birth shore to the sea of samsara's death shore, finding a way to love this precious human life that we've been given. I'll see you next time for creative energy level number 2. These build on one another, and they're so beautiful as they climb the ladder of being you. Your never repeated you. See you next time.